In the early hours, a thin layer of mist rises from the surface of the Heilongjiang River. Around 7 o'clock, just as the sky begins to glow faintly, two officers from the Heihe Immigration and Border Inspection Station stationed at the No. 1 checkpoint on the Sino-Russian cross-border Heilongjiang Bridge embark on a bustling day. The colossal Heilongjiang Highway Bridge, a joint endeavor between China and Russia, officially opened on June 10, 2022, and has been operational for over a year now. Linking the borders of China and Russia, this bridge spans the Amur River, known as Heilongjiang in Chinese, and serves as a vital conduit for trade between the northeastern region of China and the Russian Far East. Notably, this is the first cross-border bridge between China and Russia. It's important to recognize that the construction of this bridge spans over 30 years, but why did it take until 2022 to be officially inaugurated? What trials did this bridge endure during its construction, and why did the process take so long? What is the actual value of the first Sino-Russian cross-border highway bridge? Does the opening of this bridge signify a shift in Putin's strategy for the Russian Far East? Welcome to my channel, where today, I will delve into these questions in detail. Let's begin. Spanning a vast 4,300 kilometers, the Sino-Russian land border primarily traverses China's northeastern region, with the Heilongjiang River standing as a significant dividing point between China and Russia. In 1987, foreign trade ports were reinstated in China's Heilongjiang province, facilitating border trade with the Amur Oblast of the Soviet Union. Following this, trade between the two nations surged, with the volume of goods and individuals crossing the border annually reaching remarkable levels. As trade flourished and cross-border human movement escalated, the existing trading ports became inadequate to meet the future demands of trade. In 1988, China and the Soviet Union proposed the idea of constructing a cross-border highway bridge in Heilongjiang province to accommodate the trade needs of both countries. Subsequently, discussions commenced between the two sides regarding the bridge's location and construction. On May 26, 1900, the project proposal for the Heilongjiang Bridge in Heihe, Heilongjiang Province, China, was approved by both China and the Soviet Union. This proposal immediately garnered attention both domestically and internationally. At that time, this signified a deepening of cooperation between China and the Soviet Union. In the original plan, the bridge was to be 1,140 meters in length, with an investment of around 100 million Chinese yuan. However, just as China was vigorously arranging the construction of the bridge, the formidable Soviet Union experienced a seismic dissolution due to various contradictions, causing the project to be temporarily shelved amid this monumental transformation. Following the dissolution of the Soviet Union, Russia, as the successor to the Soviet Union, maintained relatively good relations with China. In 1995, the two countries resumed discussions about building the cross-border bridge. That same year, China and Russia signed an agreement to construct the Heilongjiang Bridge, and both sides began preliminary preparations for the bridge construction according to the stipulated requirements. However, Russia, having recently gone through the collapse of the Soviet Union, was grappling with severe economic development issues. Russia's chosen shock therapy approach only worsened its domestic economic situation. With Russia preoccupied with its internal matters, it lacked the capacity to invest in and construct the bridge, let alone undertake the preliminary preparations and subsequent construction as per the agreement. In 1999, financially strained Russia unilaterally proposed suspending the preliminary work on the bridge, leading to the indefinite postponement of the project. Entering the 21st century, Russia's economic situation significantly improved, prompting another push to build the cross-border bridge in order to increase its foreign trade capacity. Russia exhibited a more positive attitude towards investing in and constructing the bridge. Consequently, on March 12, 2004, both sides officially reached an agreement to restart the preliminary preparations for the bridge's construction. However, just as China was actively preparing to commence construction, another twist occurred on the Russian side. Due to changes in Russia's foreign policy, the construction work on the bridge was once again halted. The Heilongjiang cross-border bridge remained in limbo until 9 years later, in 2013. China's rapid economic development and a relative easing of Russia's domestic economic situation prompted the resurgence of both countries' border trade, entering a new historical period of economic growth. In 2013, discussions between the Chinese and Russian prime ministers included transportation matters between the two nations. During this dialogue, the construction of the Heilongjiang Bridge was brought up once again. Subsequently, relevant departments from both countries delved into the details of constructing the bridge. Following the 2014 Crimea crisis, Russia faced multiple sanctions from the West. Many of its import and export channels were blocked. To strengthen cooperation with China, Russia began diverting its attention to the development of the Far East. This shift further accelerated the progress of the bridge construction. After nearly 2 decades of being shelved, by the end of 2016, the Heilongjiang Bridge finally took its first construction steps, with both China and Russia commencing construction within their respective territories. After 3 years of intense construction, the bridge achieved a successful link-up in May 2019. Representatives from both China and Russia shared a historic handshake on the Heilongjiang Bridge. Following the successful link-up, both China and Russia continued to complete the necessary infrastructure and customs procedures, while also conducting further tests on the bridge's traffic and load-bearing capacities. However, the sudden outbreak of the pandemic at the end of 2019 delayed the bridge's opening. It wasn't until the 3rd year after the link-up, in June 2022, that the bridge was officially opened. This highway bridge, like the Sino-Russian railway bridge before it, is another major transportation artery with significant significance. To commemorate the grand opening, fully demonstrate the freight capacity of the Heilongjiang Bridge, and express their determination in trade cooperation, China and Russia dispatched 16 trucks laden with goods such as soybeans, electronics, and timber to cross the bridge during the opening ceremony. This not only tested the bridge's traffic capacity but also symbolized the trade cooperation between China and Russia. The total investment in the Heilongjiang Bridge amounted to 2.47 billion yuan. The main construction of the project covered 19.9 kilometers, with 6.5 kilometers situated within China's territory. The bridge starts from Heihe city in Heilongjiang province, China, and ends in Blagoveshchensk city, Russia, directly connecting the customs clearance points of both China and Russia. The bridge's design capacity includes 630 trucks, 164 buses, and 68 other vehicles when fully loaded. By the end of 2031, the Heilongjiang Bridge is projected to transport 719,000 tons of imported goods and 660,000 tons of exported goods. In reality, the challenges that need to be overcome in constructing such a bridge are quite unimaginable. To address issues like low winter temperatures and flood periods in the summer in the Heilongjiang region, the bridge's main structure employs a new type of Chinese-made weather-resistant steel known as Q420QFNH. This steel can withstand extreme cold temperatures as low as -60 degrees Celsius. Throughout the construction process, environmental protection has been a priority. Large numbers of fish fry were released upstream by the construction team, and during the spawning and breeding periods of fish, water quality and fish survival were closely monitored. Accumulated and wastewater generated during construction doesn't flow directly into the Heilongjiang River. It first goes into purification tanks, undergoes multiple layers of filtration to meet discharge standards, and then enters the river. The construction of the bridge also incorporates advanced digital management. Each piece of materials production, distribution, and installation processes are captured through a QR code, ensuring traceability of every material's origin and process. The bridge project also creatively applies the BIM, Building Information Modeling, management model, enabling the control of the entire complex numerical control system with minimal human resources, leading to greater efficiency and intelligence. Both construction teams overcame various challenges and successfully completed the first steel-concrete composite beam cable-stayed bridge with short towers in a high-latitude, cold region. So, what significance does the completion of the Heilongjiang Bridge hold for both China and Russia? Firstly, it accelerates communication and exchange between the two sides. Prior to the construction of the Heilongjiang Bridge, there was a railway bridge spanning the river that connected China and Russia. Although the railway bridge had a higher transport capacity compared to the road bridge, its clearance procedures were quite cumbersome, taking at least a day to complete a clearance. This severely restricted personnel exchange between the two sides. After the completion of the Heilongjiang Bridge, the once complex clearance procedures were eliminated. At the Heihe road port, border residents now only need simple identification documents and pass through security checks to complete the clearance, greatly enhancing the efficiency of communication between Chinese and Russian residents. Furthermore, the bridge boosts the volume of goods transported between both sides. As early as 2018, bilateral trade between China and Russia exceeded $100 billion. With the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, Russia has faced increasing Western sanctions, and Western countries are trying to reduce their dependence on Russian energy sources. Russia's advantage in food and energy resources aligns with China's needs. Through the Heilongjiang Bridge, China can import grains like soybeans and corn, as well as various electronic devices. On the Russian side, they can import light industrial products such as clothing and equipment from China. This reciprocal trade benefits both parties. Additionally, it drives local economic development on both sides. The construction of the Heilongjiang Bridge provides Russia a breakthrough toward its Far East, demonstrating its determination to develop that region. After the bridge's opening, the local Russian government can collect tolls. It's reported that each vehicle passing through the bridge is charged a toll of 8,700 rubles, equivalent to about 1,000 yuan, for a tentative period of 20 years. Simultaneously, the construction of the Heilongjiang Bridge can aid China in revitalizing its old industrial base in northeast China and addressing some overcapacity issues. Now, let's focus on the two cities connected by this bridge. The bridge links Heihe in Heilongjiang Province, China, and Blagoveshchensk City in Russia. These two cities are the closest, largest, and most developed cities along the Sino-Russian border. They offer similar functionalities and urban scales, contributing to highly active border trade between the two regions. While Heihe might not be well known in China, it holds a crucial role in Sino-Russian border trade. As one of the first batch of open cities along the Heilongjiang River in China, Heihe is only about 700 meters away from Ushuriysk, the third largest city in Russia's Far East. Being at the heart of Sino-Russian border trade for a long time, Heihe is often referred to as the window to China-Russia trade. Even without crossing the border, you can experience a strong Russian influence here, with Russian-style architecture adorning the streets. It's a charming border town. And what about Russia? Russia's Far East has a relatively small population, currently around 5 million, and has been facing an ongoing outflow of population at varying rates from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands per year. Russia has always been concerned about losing control over its Far East region. On the other hand, China's northeast region boasts a population of approximately 100 million. If the Far East were to open up to the northeast, fostering mutual exchange, it could potentially spur economic development in the Far East. This is something that Russia used to be apprehensive about. However, from the Ukraine crisis to the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Western sanctions and economic constraints on Russia have grown increasingly severe. These sanctions have restricted many of Russia's trade and investment avenues, placing significant economic pressure on the country. To reduce reliance on the Western economy, achieve economic diversification, and enhance economic resilience, Russia has begun actively seeking new markets and trade partners. Among the numerous nations, China's significance is undeniable. For Russia to safeguard its interests and influence on the international stage, it is crucial for Russia to foster strong relations with China. China has consistently been Russia's largest trading partner for 13 consecutive years. In 2022, the total trade volume between China and Russia reached a record-breaking $190.271 billion, and in 2023, this number is expected to surpass $200 billion. Russian estimates are even more optimistic, suggesting that by 2030, the bilateral trade volume between China and Russia could potentially exceed $300 billion. Given the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, it's highly likely that President Putin is no longer harboring illusions about the West. Looking at the accelerating pace of cooperation between China and Russia, it's conceivable that President Putin might regard China as a significant card in his strategy. The massive scale of cooperation between China and Russia underscores that Western attempts to economically weaken and defeat Russia are indeed challenging. For instance, the Heilongjiang Bridge jointly constructed by China and Russia is a prime example of their collaboration. That concludes our sharing for today. See you next time.